Greetings, friends. Hopefully, I am live and also hopefully I can be heard. Welcome to my office floor for Storytelling Hour this week. Some serious delays and difficulties here on September 11th, 2024, but it is 11:11 a.m.-ish on Wednesday, Miércoles, which means it is time for Storytelling Hour. Now, we had some serious traffic this morning, some overturned trucks, and so you don't need to hear all about it, although I wonder if it has something to do with the content that we'll tune into today. But I've had to reschedule some sessions, and unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to be live for our Storytelling Hour today. I am going to show you some content, though. I was hoping to speak about the coming lunar eclipse in a little bit more depth than what you'll hear in the recording from a class that I taught last Saturn's Day. And also about how, for a limited band on Earth, on the same day as the lunar eclipse, Saturn will be seen to be eaten by the moon, a Saturn occultation. So I happen to live in one of these places on the west coast of the United States in California, where around 5 a.m., a little bit earlier, I will get to see moon pass Saturn by on Tuesday, Mars's day, September 17th. And then that evening at sunset, there will be an eclipsed moon rising, a lunar eclipse in the sign of Pisces. So pretty powerful to have a double occultation or two occultations in the same day, moon occulting Saturn, then Earth's shadow partially occulting the moon. I imagine that will be the topic of Storytelling Hour next week. I want to speak about occultations and about the importance of lunar parallax. And the good news is that following those happenings, I'll probably have some photo and video evidence from astronomers around the world. So look forward to that next week on Storytelling Hours, lunar occultation of Saturn and the Earth's shadows occultation of the moon. Okay. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to show you the class, or part of the class that I taught in, I have to find this one, in constellations last week. So hopefully this is on your screen. It looks to be. This is what happens when you join constellations. And by the way, you can do so if you go to geminibrett.com/constellations. It'll bring you to a page where you can find out more about our community. We're still offering the maiden voyage price of only $16 a month. And every month I teach a class, a monthly Earth astrology class with Gemini Brett. Every month, Alyssa Luna offers an astro embodiment practice. They're amazing. Every month, Amala Hall teaches an astro herbalism class. They are absolutely amazing. Every month, Phelan Shiva leads an astro tarot circle, teaches a class. Phelan, great experience in that realm. As you can see here, there are some other things. I've been recording a video every 10 degrees of what the zodiac looks like throughout the course of the sun's dance in the year. And then also some backyard astronomy videos. Like this last week, I have been following the moon. Okay, so we're going to go here to astrology classes. So look, if you pay $16 for the month, you'll have instant access to all of the stuff, including especially with eclipses coming up, a lunar eclipse on Tuesday, and then a solar eclipse on October 2nd. My eclipse and eclipse cycles master classes. I mean, it's like 7+ hours of amazement, and it's highly recommended material. And you get to tune into some of my own personal theories that I see to work quite powerfully. Invisible planet activators, which I'll actually speak about a little bit in the class that you're going to witness today. class on declination and antiskia and parallels, Venus cycles, Mercury cycles, and here we go. So Capricorn, Pluto, and the outer planet eclipse. So I taught this class just on this recent Saturn's Day. It is, I was about to say 108 minutes long, but that's not true. It's 78, 79 minutes long, but 108 is great to say because it's part of the eclipse mysteries. I'm going to stop sharing and just make sure that you can see on the screen what I do. Winter, Shauna, thanks for your comments here. And also, I know you were both in this class, so let me just, last thing I'll say before I hit play on that. My apologies to you folks in constellations who were hoping to get some original content here at Storytelling Hours today. I was hoping to offer that, but traffic and things with the baby and all that. So we got to do what we got to do. Next week, occultations. All right. So, hey, look, if you're in a place where you can see the lunar eclipse on September 17th, highly recommended. For some of you, it'll be September 18th at sunrise. If you are in a place where you can see Saturn occulted by the moon coming up, check it out. All right. There are an amazing, powerful things to happen. Winter here says, no worries, repetition, dot, dot, dot. Probably referring to something I often say, which is that NASA taught me that redundancy is built into every great space mission. And hey, Pluto's been in Capricorn since January 2008, has gone into Aquarius twice, and is now just having this encore performance in Capricorn, a retrograde performance. So why not go back and do a thing again? All right, so here we go. Let me make sure you can hear what I'm hearing. Actually, if once this video starts playing, with anybody that's here live, just write, please, if you can hear the audio, please. And I'm going to put my camera away. All right. And some of you are like, yeah, I'm in constellations, but I wasn't able to make the class. So what a perfect time to be able to kind of tune back in. All right. So I think it is this one. Yeah. See you on the other side, friends. Greetings, friends. So happy you're here, connecting your star with ours in constellations. It's going to be a bit of a different journey today. We will do this mostly in council, mostly in circle. Tuning into Pluto's encore performance in the tropical sign of Capricorn. Pluto has been moving across the Aquarius Capricorn cusp some in recent time, right? And now for these months of some of September, October, and a bit of November of 2024, Pluto's encore performance in Capricorn. And the last time Pluto will be in the degrees of tropical Capricorn in our lifetimes. Unless you're planning on living another 230 years or so. And hey, you do you. We're also today connecting at a really amazing time as far as the framework of the heavens goes. It is Saturday, Saturn's Day. It's 9 a.m. Pacific time here on September 7th, 2024, where I am in Richmond, California. Libra's on the rise with this Venus and Libra rising. So hopefully that guidance will help us stay balanced and seek harmony at this time. And hopefully this water trine will help us do this from the ways of the heart. All right. I'm going to take my feet off of the local ground here and go to a 0 Aries wheel. So this looks like a bit more of a global thing for that degree of the tropical zodiac where Pisces and Aries meet is due east, not of Richmond, California, or Germany, or Sophia, or New Zealand, or Maine, but rather of the center of the earth where we all connect. The truth of the tropical zodiac, which you will often hear me say, is like so many sacred systems of ancient wisdom traditions. The signs of the tropical zodiac are directionally aligned. I would suggest their energies are directionally defined. So Earth's North Pole leans in every moment forever towards 0 degrees, tropical Cancer, the point of the sun's path that is most north of Earth's equator, right? And depending on where you are on Earth, that's going to spin around your meridian every day. But when we look from the center of the Earth, the North Pole always leaning towards 0 tropical Cancer, the South Pole towards 0 tropical Capricorn, cardinal signs, cardinal directions as defined by Gaia's spine, the sword of our stone, the world tree, our rotational axis. Yes. So we have surface experience, surface location, surface language, surface culture, but it's at that center of the Earth where we are all one. And it's that place, the heart of the Gaia, where we measure the planets in the signs from houses, surface, particular, local, signs, center, whole, below. Below, whole, above, particular. So you're all in your many places right now in the same moment, experiencing the planets in different houses, different sign on the rise. And then I am here in Richmond, California. Cheryl, pretty close to what I'm experiencing since you're just down the street. But we're all experiencing the planets in the same degrees of the tropical signs. Signs, whole, houses, particular. So let's tune into the particular, which is the above, and the whole, which is the below, together. I want to say that the framework is very strong in this moment. We have the sun here at 15 tropical Virgo, who on this Saturn's day will, Sunday for you in New Zealand and Australia. Anyway, who will oppose Saturn today. So whether it's Saturn's day or Sunday, what a beautiful time for this opposition. Sun opposite Saturn in the Earth zodiac, where Earth is the center of the zodiac, means that Earth is passing Saturn by. So a beautiful night. I'm speaking to myself here to break out that telescope that was gifted to me and show the boy Saturn's rings, right? Which can always be seen from the scope or the binoculars when Saturn's in the sky and the clouds and the sun are not. But it's at this time when Saturn is closest to Earth, it's perigee and therefore brightest. So a really wonderful time to break out the scopes and tune into Saturn's rings. Saturn helps us have form, And let's talk about Virgo Pisces, right? There's so much to do with these signs that is about the sacred. And so let's start with a practice now. Just ask you to kind of do your thing, breathe, get into your heart. Travel down a bit to the roots. Like so many sacred systems of ancient wisdom traditions, the tropical zodiac is a directional device. So let's begin with the directions now. I want you to turn your back to wherever, from where you are sitting, the midday sun is located. The midday sun in the northern hemisphere is always due south, at least north of the Tropic of Cancer. For those of you who are south of the Tropic of Capricorn, the midday sun is always due north, okay? And for those of you in the southern hemisphere, you are going to turn counterclockwise. For those of us in the northern hemisphere, we are going to turn clockwise. So we will start facing the celestial pole of ours that's above the ground, right? So northern hemisphere folks, we're facing north. Where we're going to go in southern hemisphere, you're facing south. Where we're going to go down below the ground, not straight beneath our feet, but in front and down below. That's where we find the IC, the Imam Cheli, the bottom of the heavens, the roots, the tomb, and the womb. And just reaching into that space, we honor the ancestors. We honor those who came before. We honor the spirits of the land. We honor the ancient ones and those who constructed the foundations of this cosmic craft that we are learning, the foundations upon which we stand. the roots. So turn now sunwise. Again, for us in the northern hemisphere, that's going to be clockwise. In the southern hemisphere, counterclockwise to the east, the place of the rise, of new beginnings. Let us be rooted in our ancestry. Let us honor those who came before. Let us honor the soil of our youth, even if it felt a deep lack of nutrients. Perhaps the pollution of our youth only gives the sunset some pretty hues. The east is the place of rise, of new beginnings, the eternal fountain of youth. So how can we take what has been the ancient ways and let them live through us? How can we innovate? This eastern horizon, where we find the horoscope, where we find the rudder, traditionally associated with our life's journey, but also with youth. What are we bringing that's new, and how can we show that? So we go now to the reach. For those of us in the northern hemisphere, we're south and above the ground. For those of you in the southern hemisphere, you are north and above the ground, the mid-heaven, medium Shelley, the middle of the heavens, the reach, the place where we find the midday sun, or where we find Saturn halfway in between Saturn rise and Saturn rest. And since Sun is opposite Saturn today, Saturn will be at the MC in the middle of the night when the sun is at the roots, at the IC beneath. This reach where we shine our light, where we show ourselves. So I like to keep my arms here until they burn. Sometimes, of course, the way we wish to be seen, or the way that we feel we need to show ourselves, or, share the fruits from the branches of our world tree can burn. So it's important to remember also that in this place where we strive to show our honorable radiance, that what goes up must come down, and it's okay to come to the west to rest. So in the east, I like to have my hands in front of me with the palms up, the place of the rise. In the west, the palms down, the place of the rest. Coming back down to earth here. The sun finding the descendant on the western horizon at the end of the day, in the beginning of the night. Coming back to our relations. And we are all relating, and all is relationship. Back down to the roots we go. And now the above and below. So please, if you would, reach your hands directly above your head. And send the energy also down through your spine to Gaia's heart. That one place where we all connect, and the place where we measure the planets in the signs from. The place I would suggest the signs of the Earth's zodiac, the tropical zodiac, extend from. Above our heads, a unique star. Even that one of you who currently is reaching above your head, just down the street from me. We're reaching to a different star, and I'm reaching to a different star, as are you, than the one we were reaching to when we first raised our arms, because Earth does not stop spinning. The above, the particular, the unique, you are unique and beautiful, a unique reflection of the one light of spirit that will never repeat. And the below, the whole, where we all connect. So please feel that pull. The whole and the particular, the below, the above. And let's now bring the above down to our heart while we bring the below up to our heart, and we will meet in that place, which is the seventh direction, because it is first. Thank you. Okay, into the heart we go. So we celebrate now And we'll share thoughts and feels around Pluto's encore performance in the sign of Capricorn. Let's look at some dates here. So we find Pluto today in the very last arc minutes of tropical Capricorn and Astro Gold software indicating Pluto's retrograde travel by the red font, okay? Let's go back to when Pluto first ingressed Capricorn, which was in January of 2008, January 25th. Pluto having slowly danced through the sign of Sagittarius, entered Capricorn on that date. Tropical Capricorn. The point, 0 degrees tropical Capricorn, that is above Earth's Tropic of Capricorn, because that's where Earth's South Pole eternally leans. This is not about constellational sea goat. In fact, those early degrees of tropical Capricorn, now at the galactic cross, where the scorpion's stinger and the archer's arrow point towards galactic center. This is galactic alignment. This is the turning of the ages. This is the most powerful astronomical happening that you have incarnated to participate with. Tropical Capricorn, Earth south. And because Earth is moving north through space, and we are, the north is the bow of the ship, and the south, the stern. So Capricorn, globally, though high in the southern hemisphere sky, low in the northern hemisphere sky, globally we can say it is the roots of the tree, it is the place that we are coming from. So we honor Capricorn, the roots and the trunk. Taurus, the flowers and the fruits. Virgo, the leaf that reaches for the light and does the inner work to feed the thing, you know. Capricorn, the others focus of the earth sign, which is the body of the self, the body of the world. You know, these things that we can drum. And drink. I'm enjoying a wonderful old pu'er tea from ancient trees which grow only in the Yunnan province of China. Great teachers, as are all trees, that if we want to reach our branches into the heavens and give heavenly fruit back to earth, we must be rooted. We must be willing to study stability, stillness. Stand tall, teaches the tree, right? Reach and root. And so we'll be playing some today with the idea of Capricorn, roots, and Aquarius. Is it the branches? Is it the atmosphere towards which we're branching, the heavens above towards which we reach? Traditionally, Capricorn and Aquarius, the places of Saturn, the signs of Saturn, yes? And Capricorn's so much about the structure, the framework, the rules of the game. In Aquarius, innovation. Look, if the game is good, if we like the rules, and all games need them, then Aquarius inspires us to innovate within that framework. Chess is a great game. The pawn moves 1 or 2 out the gate, depending on whether or not that seems like a good idea. The pawn takes diagonally and only that. The bishop stays and it's diagonal, yes? The rules are good, and then Aquarius, within that beautiful framework of the rules of a game, which is good, allows for innovation. So you chesser people know all these different openings and closings and things to do, and it gets tricky upon the squares. if the rules of the game are whack, then Aquarius is a revolutionary force which incites us to break away, which reminds us that breaking broken rules is the right thing to do. And we feel more of the modern image of Aquarius and Uranus there. Uranus, discovered in 1781 at the time of the American Revolution, the Industrial Revolution, the seeds of the French Revolution, discovered with a telescope, technology, discovered by accident. William Herschel and his sister Caroline were out playing, hunting comets, as many of the astronomers who could afford these gigantic telescopes back in that day were. And interestingly, it said that while Sister Carolyn Herschel was taking stock of their ammunition, because they were in like the arms dealing profession, interestingly, that William discovered a comet. But it was not a comet at all. Rather, the first planet discovered since time immemorial. I mean, who discovered Saturn? Everyone, because Saturn is visible to our naked eyes. So as we play today a bit with the coming lunar eclipse, we will find that the most visible ones, Sun and Moon, will be aligned at this time of shadow play, Moon moving through the shadow of Earth, to so many of these invisible ones, to Uranus, to Neptune, to Pluto. Now, Uranus, in accordance with the zeitgeist of the time, so much of this revolutionary design. At Pluto, we find more of an evolutionary focus there. Right? Neptune discovered between, and by the way, before Neptune, but after Uranus, the first 4 asteroids of the belt between Mars and Jupiter, those being Ceres and Vesta and Pallas and Juno. But Neptune discovered in 1846, and not accidentally, rather having tracked Uranus for some time, the astronomers realized that something beyond was pulling on that one. And it was Neptune. So Neptune's position was mathematically calculated. But also, Neptune reminds us that we're all connected. See, that we all have pull on one another, that we're all sailing through the same ocean of spirit, you know? And Neptune discovered at interesting times. Spiritualism was on the rise. So was the great dream in this land where I live of folks heading west, gold rush, you know. Moving pictures came around. Film really helps us share a common vision, right? When you read a book, you have to create the scene yourself based upon the author's guidance. When you see a film, oh, there's more of a clear suggestion of what you're meant to be seeing, although, of course, you can only experience anything through your own lens. Pluto, discovered in 1930 in Arizona, in the midst of Great Depression between the First and the Second World Wars. It was tricky times. And we often say Urn is kind of this Uranian heavenly revolutionary force, the light bolt that demands change. Now, Pluto, a change agent as well, but from Hades, from someplace beneath the ground. You know, interestingly, you can see Uranus with your naked eye. I've been initiated. When Earth passes Uranus by, that's Sun opposite Uranus in your zodiac, your earthly tropical zodiac. With Pluto, no chance, right? You need like a giant building-sized telescope. All right, that's a little extreme, but hopefully you feel what I mean. So there's something very hidden here. And we used to believe Pluto was the last of the planets on the way out to, interstellar space. But we've since discovered so many others. I believe Eris was the first, 2005. Maybe discovered earlier, but it was at that time when Pluto was demoted by the astronomers to dwarf planet status, and there's some interesting reasons for this, by the way. Pluto has a very eccentric orbital path, extremely elliptical, much more than any of the visible planets, even Mercury, who's about as eccentric as you can get, and Mars, whose path, like Mars, is quite chaotic. But Pluto's path, who, like these asteroids who had been discovered before, is incredibly oblique to the ecliptic plane, right? The plane of matter and spirit, Earth and Sun cross and circle, right? So Earth orbiting the Sun, or from our point of view, the Sun getting around us. Yes, this is the plane of the year. This is the ecliptic. This is the plane, the heart of the zodiac. And while every planet has its own path, moon, for example, snaking above and below the path of the sun by about 5 degrees north and south every month, Pluto's path, danced around 248 years by Pluto moving against the spine of Gaia, goes 17 degrees north and 17 degrees south. Right, so a great snaking. Pluto's path has great obliquity to the plane of Earth, Sun, of matter and spirit, of the ecliptic. Yeah, and so this is another of many reasons why Pluto was kind of reclassified. We get out beyond Mars, who, though, is an exterior planet, his orbital path beyond that of our own. Mars is also called an inner planet because, like Earth, Venus, and Mercury, made mostly of stone. Get out beyond that hammered bracelet, that asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter, and we find our way to the great gas giants, right? Jupiter, the largest of them, and then Saturn. Find our way to Uranus and to Neptune, giant twins. And then once we get to Pluto, it's a whole different story, right? Tiny, but so huge, right? And so, while again, Uranus kind of speaks for we want change, we want it now, the lightning bolt that can shock. Pluto versus Uranian revolution, more like evolution. Pluto wants change, and Pluto's going to remind us that change takes time. And Pluto in Capricorn perhaps reminds us that everything must change. Some of this hopefully helping us return to our roots. What does Capricorn mean in the pages of the many modern astrology books that litter my shelves? And you hear things like the boss, the president, the government, the police, the corporate CEO, the ladder climber, ambitious one. Well, what happened to the Council of Grandmothers, the stone circle builders, the wisdom keepers, the ancient ones, the elders of the tribe, here to preserve the traditions, the true traditions that will see us through? Not only in this time, but for the 7 generations ahead. This is the true root of the Capricorn mysteries. I want to read what Alyssa Luna wrote here. Alyssa Luna, who's been leading us through astro embodiment practices here in constellations, yes? Rooting, getting into our earth, finding our roots. Alyssa wrote, people always say that time heals, but I really like the notion that rather time reveals. And time said to be a Saturnian structure, right? Is it Capricornian or Aquarian? If those signs do indeed express the nature of Saturn, is time an earthly thing? Is it actually material and something we can drum? Or is it simply mental floss, created in the realms of the thinks? Well, as far as I'm concerned, we've incarnated into bodies with bones, and we'll get back to the blood pumping through the veins and that amazing device called the heart. But there's structure, and we are born in a world that spins day, time, in a world that orbits year, time, on a planet that precesses great year, time. I would suggest that time in that sense is very much in the fabric. And as we return by reconnecting to the medicine of the living sky in the marriage of heaven and earth, that we return to the ancient embodied knowledge of time and the motions of our planet Earth, which I feel is very Capricorn. Now, how do we divide the day into the hours and the minutes and the seconds and the like? This is all much more of an Aquarian innovation. Again, the rules of the game are good. These are rules that you probably can't change. She spins and orbits and precesses, y'all. And here you are. Your bones are her stones, part of Earth. But how should we create a calendar? So that we can make it to constellations through our own space age interweb connection on time, All right. So I digress, but not at all, because these are the things we are speaking about. We anticipated, astrologers anticipated with Pluto, who wants evolutions, ingress into the sign of Capricorn. We anticipated changes of structures. And yes, this should include governance, currency, all of the things. So a great question to ask is, since this time when Pluto ingressed Capricorn, January 25th, 2008, and a global financial crisis quickly ensued, have the structures changed? Is Pluto's movement through Capricorn asking for evolution in the structures, good and bad, part of the seed of the We Too movement, for example? How is this happening in the world without? But I'm also very interested in how is this happening in the world within. I'm going to share some more dates with you right now. So Pluto came into Capricorn January 25th, 2008. If you're into that whole Gregorian trip, I have to say, for me, one of the things that's greatly changed since that time is, though I use this calendar so we can make it to constellations on time and I can book my astrology sessions and I'm mostly now aligned personally to celestial time by following the sun every day through the houses and by following the sun every year through the signs, the 360-degree calendar, and following the phases of the moon to understand more about months and the many types therein. That's one of my personal changes. What about you? Okay, so Pluto into Capricorn January 25th, 2008, and then Pluto station retrograde here at just at 1 degree Capricorn on April 2nd of that year, and then Pluto back across the gate for some unfinished business. I don't know what happened there. Hold on a second, please. That's going to take too long. Okay, Pluto back across into Sagittarius for some unfinished business on June 13th, 2008. Returning to Capricorn after stationing direct, 28.5 tropical Sagittarius near the galactic center with the moon nearby on September 8th, 2008. Pluto then in Capricorn on November 26, 2008, to slowly journey through that sign. Let's do Pluto retrogrades and directs and retrogrades and directs and retrogrades and directs for many, many, many suns, many years. Until when? Until Pluto ingress Aquarius, March 23rd, 2023. Well, 23 is also one of the things that's changed in my life, or what has been a change agent in my life, as it has been for many mystics since Pluto first found his way to tropical Capricorn, right around that time in my life. What's changed in yours? Pluto first into Aquarius, March 23rd, 2023. Only 2 years and some months after Saturn was met by Jupiter at the same degree, the early degrees of tropical Aquarius at December solstice or Capricorn solstice in 2020. Pluto, after this time, stationing retrograde, 21 arc minutes in tropical Aquarius, and then back across the gate for some unfinished business in Capricorn, starting June 11th, 23, stationing direct here at 28 Capricorn on October 10th, 23, and then back into Aquarius, January 20th, 24. Very close to Cazimi. Every year the sun meets Pluto to begin a Pluto synodic cycle, but I should say that while we see Pluto coming back into Aquarius on the same day that Sun ingressed Aquarius, January 20th, 2024, the Sun-Jupiter conjunction, the Sun-Pluto conjunction was in the last arc minute of tropical Capricorn. 29 degrees and 59 minutes, 6 seconds. All right. So we here in this year of 2024, if you're into that whole Gregorian trip, are running a Capricorn Pluto cycle still. Even though on that same day, January 20th, Pluto ingressed Aquarius once again. Well, has since stationed retrograde, and Pluto spends almost half the year retrograde. On May 2nd, 2024, crossed the cusp again for this encore performance in tropical Capricorn on September 1st, 24. Will station direct in tropical Capricorn, 2938 on October 11th. And then we'll finally head back into Aquarius on November 19th, 2024 to stay for some time. Let me show you Pluto's first ingress into the sign of Pisces. That's March 8th, 2043. Okay, so since March of 2023 until March of 2043, Pluto's in Aquarius, though some dips back into tropical Capricorn, just as after Pluto moves into Pisces, he'll come back into Aquarius for some unfinished business, a very slow mover. The slowest of the images shown on your screen, because I don't have other so-called dwarfs like Haumea, Maki Maki, and others on this particular chart. Okay, so one more thing about Pluto and Capricorn. I want to show you the next Sun-Pluto conjunction. That is January 21st, 25. The nodes in very important places. Okay, so this will be the first Sun-Pluto conjunction in Aquarius in our day and age. And the first one there for like 250-ish years. It's a big deal. And then the consecutive Sun-Pluto conjunctions will be in the sign of Aquarius for many years until after Pluto gets into Pisces. Have to keep pushing these buttons about once a year. So the first Sun-Pluto conjunction in Pisces, February 19th, 2044. Again, the first Sun-Pluto conjunction in tropical Aquarius, January 21st, 2025. This following, let's count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 16 Sun-Pluto conjunctions in tropical Capricorn. Right, so 2008 to 2024, 16 years of Pluto in Capricorn. And by the way, as I was describing Pluto's 17 degrees north and 17 degrees south of the ecliptic plane, well, Pluto's south node is in the sign of Capricorn. So while many of us were born with Pluto, all of us were born with Pluto well north of the ecliptic plane, Pluto's north node in Cancer, tropical Cancer, okay? Many of us here, I'm looking at names, not all, but many of us born with Pluto in Libra. Well, that's when Pluto was most north of the ecliptic plane. And then like 1981, I believe, Pluto was most north of the ecliptic. And by the way, at that time, closest to Earth. Pluto at that time actually closer to Earth than Neptune. It's an interesting thing to consider. What does that mean about Pluto? What does that mean about the structures of the heavens? Will that change? Okay. So by the way, we see some Pluto in Leo generation, Pluto in Virgo, Pluto in Libra, Pluto in Scorpio. Does anyone here have Pluto in Cancer? Probably not. That's pretty far back. Maybe for those of you who are listening to this in the time that I currently perceive to be the future. So the generational Pluto is a very interesting consideration. I would suggest that, for example, those of you who, like me, were born with Pluto in Libra, that we are here collectively to bring evolution Pluto to the nature of relationship Libra. Typically, Pluto asks for evolution, not through dreams, but through nightmares. But we don't awaken from dreams, you know. Not to say that Pluto is all bad. And you know, sometimes those bad cards we were dealt are actually the best cards they are, because they seed our awakening, which you know I prefer to call our weirding. But many of us with the Pluto in Libra experienced parents who divorced. It was really the first generation of kids who had very high divorce rates in their parentage. Most of our parents had Pluto in Leo. They were asked to find an evolution of the radiant self, but it didn't always look pretty. There were a lot of midlife crises. For folks in that generation, Pluto square Pluto transit, Uranus opposite Uranus transit, and Neptune square Neptune transit were all happening at the same time. In my generation, we had them stacked. Pluto first, then Uranus, then Neptune. No, then Neptune, then Uranus. So with all those like outer planet activations, initiations happening at the same time, maybe that generation was more likely seated for, you know, what they call midlife crisis. Daddy bought the sports car, fooled around. Sorry, was I talking about myself again? You know, mom burned the damn June Cleaver apron, declared herself the goddess that she was, if they did this according to the plan. And it's hard to have two sovereign beings in the old model of ownership relationship. That's not the old model, is it? And Pluto, I feel, especially now in the sign of Capricorn, wants us to get old, wants us to remember the ancient ways. Well, Pluto and Libra, I would suggest that our generation, we're here to bring harmony, balance to the nature of right relationship. And typically that means we're going to know a lot that are not right, witness those that are out of balance, at least at first. And by the way, while that might be a collective agreement of this so-called Pluto and Libra generation, we're going to experience that in different ways based upon our own personal alignments to the planet Pluto. I have Mercury conjunct Pluto in the fifth, for example, with Gemini rising. So Mercury's my steersman, right? Some of us will be on the front lines of the thing, some of us a little later. It might happen day one. But one of the great initiations in life will happen when Pluto aligns with himself. When Pluto transits in aspects, especially hard aspects. I don't love that term, but we're talking about hard stuff, conjunctions, squares, and oppositions to the natal Pluto position. And I can say for sure that I had a very Plutonian experience in my Pluto square Pluto initiation. I think many of you will see that that was true for you too. Because of Pluto's very eccentric orbit, Pluto changes speeds. Again, sometimes much, I mean, not much, but closer to Earth and Neptune, sometimes much, 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 much further away. The closer to Earth means the closer to Sun in Pluto's case. And the closer to the Sun, the faster he goes. So I think my grandfather was born Pluto in Cancer, didn't have his Pluto square Pluto until he was 80 or something. For me, I had Pluto square Pluto around 37. Same time as the nodal return, Saturn square Saturn, and my life exploded. And I do want to get personal here when we shift out of kind of this zone and into more of a council, more of a circle, a community exploration. Okay. Before then, I want to bring our awareness to the coming lunar eclipse because 'tis the season and it's very involved with Pluto and will also help us see some important images of many outer planet transformations at this time. For Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto are all about to change signs. But you know, the art of the chart starts in the heart. So I'll ask you please to close your eyes and breathe deeply. Breathe down to your feet and up to your crown. Expand your breath into the great heavens above and to the heart of earth below. Feel that connection to the whole. But remember, you have incarnated and individuated for a reason. Fix yourself to fix the world. So I ask you just this. Since the time of Pluto's first entrance at the world point, where the south pole of our planet leans, the Tropic of Capricorn, since Pluto's first entrance into tropical Capricorn in January of 2008, have you grown? Please put your hand on your heart and scream, yes, I have. I have grown. I have evolved. I have changed. I know that is true for everyone here, whether you're listening and celebrating this with me presently or in a time that I perceive to be the future, or if you figured out somehow to watch this in a time that I perceive to be the past. Let's, you know what? Let's take your hands off your heart and onto your keyboard. Let me get some yes and some amen and I have changed and all those things. Let's just see that this is quite a universal theme for the 33 folks who are currently assembled. And let's just read them out without question. Indeed, absolutely, hell yes, I have changed in capital text. Yes, with exclamation points. Yes, with some extra S's and caps, and yes, with more explanation points than I can even pronounce, and a thumbs up for sure. Absolutely, absolutely. Yes, so much. Yes, changed a lot. And as you change the lot. And this will be a very important truth now of Pluto's entrance into a fixed sign, the science of their elements, into the sign of Aquarius. Fix yourself to fix the world. The Capricorn and the cardinal signs, we want the world to change. Has it changed? Has it changed enough? Has it changed according to your dream? Are you still amazed that others seem to have a dream that completely contradicts with your own? Have you learned to call them the enemy? Who's teaching you? And the whole Coke versus Pepsi division on the TV screens that's just so alive in an election year in this country where I live. Oh, that's the shit that needs to change. And even if people are flying the banner of the one that you believe to be the greater of two evils and all that, can you remember they are a brother, they are a sister, and their bones are also made of Gaia's stones, and they were born, and they will die, and they will change, and they will grow. Are we willing to see the light in the other rather than trying to bring them to the light? No? We need good rules for the game of the to be good. Is it good enough for you to innovate within? Or do you feel with Pluto moving from Capricorn to Aquarius now that we must just burn it all down? Do you see how personal that is? Do you see the temptation to project the personal onto the collective? Perhaps I'm guilty in this last 48 seconds of our present time. Is that what Capricorn is about? Is that what Pluto wants? And I want to say this, in my experience, not only living life and witnessing those close to me in my own generation, but having the honor in my work to tune in with so many amazing, awakening, awakening, empowered, self searching beings like yourself in astrological consultation, I have seen again and again and again how Pluto activations of Pluto often do initiate that Plutonic signature of the nativity. And so, those born with Pluto in the sign of Capricorn, and the last couple months of that is happening now, right? My daughter born in July is Pluto in Aquarius. But my daughter was born in June, by the way. Sorry. But there's some who were born after her, like September, October, and some days of November in 2024, if you're into that whole Gregorian trip, who will have Pluto in Capricorn, right? And so many of you will have Pluto at a cusp like this. If you were born with Pluto at the first degree of Scorpio, would Pluto return to Libra after you were born? If you have Pluto in the last degree of Libra, the last degree of Virgo, had Pluto already moved into Libra? Do you see what I'm saying? Like, these are very interesting considerations. And so we're in a time of like the changing of the signs. And in the old tradition, it's not a circle, but rather a 12-sided shape. And Pluto's kind of jumping a wall from the cardinal earth to the fixed air. Though traditionally they're said to both speak the language of Saturn, though I would suggest that Capricorn and Aquarius still are very different languages. Just like Taurus and Libra are different languages taught by the great Venus. What is changing now? Have you changed? Have you changed? Because when you change, your world changes. And if you fall prey to the idea that the world needs to be the image of your dream, you might fail to see the dream teachers that are here in this moment now, guiding you. Okay, so let me get one more chart on the screen. I would ask you, however, to contemplate what is the worst thing that happened to you since 2008? What are the worst things that have happened to you? Good and bad, such silly terms, and yet they can offer entrances to the temple. What is the greatest thing that has happened to you? What stimulated the greatest change for you, the greatest evolution for your life? So let's, for those of you who are willing to share, and I'll show my cards more than I probably should. Let's support one another in that here in constellations. Okay, but before I go there, one more chart to consider. So now, and then let's move forward to the next eclipse, which is a lunar eclipse, moon opposite Lilith, which means moon close to Earth. Okay, so super moon, that means moon is fast. Her average speed is 13 degrees per day. Here you go, 15. It's a fast moon because she is close and therefore big and bright, the super moon. At Neptune's side, is Neptune bright? No. But I feel, and those of you who have been in constellations here for some time know that I led a transmission some time ago about how I feel the invisible ones, the Chiron, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto's, for example, in this chart, come to us and through us via their connection to the visible ones. And so with an eclipse, the moon, of course, being in the sun, the most visible of all of these, the luminaries, the sun the brightest, but the moon so bright, but not so bright that we cannot see the stars that she is traveling through. This, of course, is why the old zodiacs were all lunar first. Let's remember that. Perhaps that will help us change the world. By returning to our roots, we know where we are coming from. Won't it help us know where we are going, where we are growing? We find moon applying to Neptune in Pisces, but first a sextile to Uranus, and then after her connection with Neptune, a sextile to Pluto. Oh, wait, a sextile with Pluto and a sextile in the other direction with Uranus? Oh, that means at the midpoint of Uranus and Pluto, and this nerd dial here, thanks to the cosmobiologist and Uranian astrology folks, will help me show that Neptune at this time is within 8 arc minutes of the Uranus-Pluto midpoint. Now that is an amazing thing. The Neptune-Pluto sextile is the most common aspect you will see in natal charts if you're looking at charts for people born not only in this generation, but the one before and the one before and the one before. It's an amazing truth. And this, why? Because Pluto is about the same distance as Neptune. That's a limited time, and therefore Pluto moving at the same speed. And so they have just held this sextile forever. And there's a decent opportunity to explore in your nativity and generational ideas that while the evolution in this case is going down in the Capricornian realms, perhaps some of the healing and the return to oneness will open, and maybe only through our evolution. I mean, maybe let's talk Hades. We have to journey to hell to find our way to the heavens. Is that what Pluto and Neptune are respectively? No, but it doesn't hurt to start that way. Well, okay, it hurts, but it's not inaccurate entirely, right? So we go down into the underworld to find our way to a place that's higher than we've been. And sorry to promote high as good and low as bad, but we need some kind of metaphor in this world of polarity. And so, I was born with Pluto in Libra, but Neptune's in Sagittarius, right? So there's some kind of disruption, some evolutionary necessity in the realms of Libra relating globally or generationally speaking. And then there's some healing that's going to be found through Sagittarius. Have a quest journey. What about Capricorn and Neptune? Well, friends, at times they are a changing. Uranus, who's been in Taurus, is now moving to Gemini. Neptune, who's been in Pisces, is now moving to Aries. Saturn will meet Neptune in Aries shortly after that transition. And so this eclipse, which is important in many ways, let's go back to the previous eclipse. Okay, we have an Aries total solar eclipse in April of 2024. We have a Libra lunar eclipse in March of 24. We have a Taurus lunar eclipse, Taurus lunar eclipse in October 23, a Libra solar eclipse in October 23. We have a Scorpio lunar eclipse in May of 23, preceded by an Aries solar eclipse in April of 2023. Anyway, Scorpio, Taurus, Aries, Libra, Scorpio, Taurus, you see. And now Virgo, Sun, reflected by a Pisces full moon, not as reflected as most full moons do. Why? Because she would be partially occulted by Earth's shadow. And while in solar eclipse times, you have to be in particular places on Earth to see the shadow play, this is not true for lunar eclipse. Well, it is in that it has to be nighttime. The sun has to be beneath the horizon with the moon above. I'm going to turn this into a local wheel and just show you that where I am, this lunar eclipse, which I plan to record and I will post to our constellations page. I hope you've seen that every day since the moon became visible to my eyes on Wednesday evening. I've been recording a short video following the moon every day. I plan to continue to do so, clouds allowing, every day until September 17th for this full moon, which, because she's close enough to the node, as you learned in the constellations eclipse and eclipse masterclass, or eclipse cycles masterclass, is still available for you, by the way, on your constellations course page. The quick way there, or membership page, resources page, the quick way there is geminibrett.com/star people. Anyway, this is a cycle. So, I mean, we can talk about 19 years ago, a lunar eclipse at this point. We could talk about 18 years ago, a lunar eclipse of the same family, which would have been 11 degrees previous at about 15 degrees Pisces, where Saturn is now. That's intriguing. But mostly, I just wanted to present this coming chart, for those of you who are with me here in present time, as an opportunity to feel into how the invisible ones, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, come to us and through us via their connection to the visible ones. In this case, the most visible, the full moon, though a little bit less than typical because close enough to the node for eclipse, but not close enough to be total. It's a partial lunar eclipse. Earth's shadow will take a bite out of the moon, all right? And I think just seeing how close to the horizon at the time of perfection, although the truth is I would have to use topocentric coordinates or the parallax moon to find the middle of the eclipse, but that's kind of a tale for another time. Feel free to ask me about it in our group share if you'd like. But I see that the moon's above the horizon. That means full moon time, the sun's below. That means nighttime, right? So this looks to me like I'm going to witness the moon rising already, partially eclipsed, and then I'll get to see kind of the greatest partiality, clouds allowing, right? So a wonderful thing about lunar eclipses is as long as it's nighttime where you are, you can see this. And so one thing I love about lunar eclipses is we get these days, thanks to the World Wide Web and the techs and all that, like images and photographs and amazing telescope stacked photos and videos, of the lunar eclipse from many places in the world. And by the way, because of parallax, because the moon is so close to us that the difference between her geocentric distance, that's the distance from Earth's center, and her topocentric distance, that's the distance from Earth's surface, is not negligible as it is for the other planets. In every place on Earth where we will be witnessing the same eclipse, however, we will see the moon slightly different against the backdrop of the constellations. So in a sense, the lunar eclipse helps us feel global, at least connects all those who are on the night side of Earth. Let me just share that if it's daytime for you, when this thing is happening, turn your back to the sun. Follow your shadow, which can guide you through the center of the Earth to the moon on the other side. Global and yet still somehow particular thanks to lunar parallax. Okay. So I think enough of that. Let me just finally make this point one more time. For me, one of the things that's most powerful about this eclipse, first of all, because the nodes are changing, and the North Node at 0 Aries is the biggest deal there is for what's called the lunar standstill cycle. That's January 11th, 2025. True node, tropical zodiac. Because the nodes are changing, so are the signs of the eclipses. And so here we have a Pisces lunar eclipse. Let's go forward. A Libra solar eclipse. On October 2nd, if you're into that whole Gregorian trip. And then let's just move forward. We have in March of 2025, a Virgo lunar eclipse. See, generally opposite where the coming Pisces lunar eclipse will be. Followed by an Aries solar eclipse. And then from then, Pisces lunar eclipse, Virgo solar eclipse, and then Aquarius lunar eclipse, right? As the nodes move retrograde through the zodiac, where the nodes go, the eclipses go. And so in a sense, we get this changing of the energies, changing of the signs. And now we move from the time of Taurus, Scorpio, and Libra, Aries eclipses into Pisces, Virgo, and Libra, Aries. Things still happens. Okay. So the connections to the outer planets and the amazing truth that now Neptune, Pluto sextile, which is held for so long, comes into sextile fan, as they call this, sextile and a sextile, right? Pluto, Capricorn, Neptune, and Pisces, Uranus, and Taurus. I call it the sexy trine because you get like Uranus trine Pluto with something in the sextiles in between, in this case Neptune, and the lunar eclipse is so strongly aligned. So for me, I'm such a sky guy, like to connect visibly, right? The energies of the invisible planets come to us and through us via their connection to the visible planets, and this one has it as greatly as you can. And Chiron's also involved because I'm sure you've been looking at this. Libra Venus, opposite Aries Chiron at this time. Okay. So let's connect in constellation now. I'm going to set you up so you can turn your cameras and your microphones on if you'd like. And I suggest we travel to Hades to find our way to heaven. I think I will start by sharing some of the times in my life that I'm most ashamed of and from which I have most grown. And I'm not going to do that on this particular video because I do think I'm going to put this up on my YouTube channel. By the way, for folks who see that, who are not currently in constellations, go to GeminiBrett.com and click on the community tab. Come join us. It's amazing in here. It's amazing beings that I'm about to have the opportunity to connect with. We're not alone. We're studying some freaky stuff. Every mystic will feel alone, at least for some time, but it's important also to come into fellowship. And that's what Constellations is about. So come check us out. Let me say one other thing, and this is true for everybody who's here in Constellations as well. I am offering until the solar eclipse, if you book between now and October 2nd, the Libra solar eclipse, I'm offering a special, an eclipse special. So if you want to tune into your natal eclipse story, your prenatal eclipse story, into your eclipse cycles story and nodal return windows, or if you want to see how this current eclipse season, the Pisces lunar eclipse and the following Libra solar eclipse, aligns to your own chart, how it wants to bring you to life, book a eclipse special with me. So geminibrett.com/shadow will bring you to the opportunity to book a 60-minute eclipse or eclipse cycle session with me for $108. And for those of you who have studied the eclipse mysteries of the dragon, you know why 108, right? Great. Okay. Well, thanks so much for being here for this transmission part. And for those of you who are witnessing in this space outside of constellations, you don't get to see the other side. For those of you who are going to participate, however, in our group share, please know that our peers in this fellowship called Constellations will have access to that second video. So please don't share stories that you don't want to be seen, not only by others who are currently present, but also by others in our community and sometime in the future, looking back on us. Okay. All right. I don't know if that just froze or if it ended or what, friends, but I do have to end this thing. So again, my apologies for not having a live transmission today. Been a wild one. I bet you it's kind of been that way for you too. But anyway, hopefully you received something from that astrology class. Something like that happens every month in constellations. What you didn't get to see is the 2 hours that followed, where many of us opened our hearts and shared some of the challenges that we've been through during this time of Pluto's Capricorn transit. I went first and maybe went a little TMI. I'm not sure. Or maybe I set a good example because it was really so powerful to experience how many bright stars in the constellation communities were willing to share some of the difficulties of their own life story. And, you know, we can look at celebrity charts all day, but we don't know those folks. And so to actually have the opportunity to look at real charts of real people who have real experiences, it's really such a gift. And to just know that we're not alone, that was a reminder to come and do this. And you know that not only are we not alone in the interest in the study of this weird thing called astrology and such, but that like we're not the only ones going through like such a difficult awakening, a weirdening process, as it has to be, because we don't awaken from dreams, we awaken from nightmares, and sometimes that's just Pluto's gift, which is wrapped in terribly ugly paper. So check out Constellations, geminibrett.com/constellations will get you to the page where you can sign up and join us. As I said before, as soon as you'll get in, like there's tons of classes and community discussions pre-recorded waiting for you. No, sorry, we don't record the community discussions. That's so we can keep safe space. But we have community discussions every week. They're amazing. I'll be running one on Saturday. There's 2 this Friday. There's 1 yesterday. And then, as I said earlier, like I teach a class every month. There's an Astro Tarot class. There's an Astro Herbalism class every month. There's an Astro Embodiment practice every month. And it's a really wonderful place, and I'll help you come join us there. Thanks for spending some time with me here in the past, future, or something about time. Good Capricorn work. See you next week, friends.